For many years, I had been longing to see LA 2017, the single episode which Steven Spielberg directed for the television series The Name of the Game in 1971. It's never been released on DVD, but it seems to have acquired a small cult of fans over the years. And now that it is 2017, I figured it was as good a time as any to find some way of seeing it. As chance would have it, the Pali Center for Media in Beverly Hills had a copy of LA 2017 in their digital library archives, so I went over there and took a look at it. Based on a first impression, I will say this. I didn't necessarily enjoy LA 2017, but I certainly admired it. The thing I loved the most about the episode was the art direction by William H. Tunke, best known for his work on Mary Poppins. I also enjoyed the climactic car chase up in the hills with those futuristic cars firing the machine guns. It's hard to believe the budget was only $375,000. One problem I had with the episode is that I had trouble following the plot. I understood how Los Angeles was somehow driven to ruins in the future because the air was polluted by algae or something to that effect, but I didn't really understand the objectives or motivations of any of the characters. Also, most of the acting is rather average. Gene Barry does a competent job in the lead role, but to be honest, I kind of think that his 5-second cameo in Spielberg's War of the Worlds was more memorable by comparison. The best performance in LA 2017 is by Edmund O'Brien, who gives this really insane monologue. Granted, I had no idea what he was talking about, but he certainly had presence, and the fact that O'Brien was in the early stages of Alzheimer's when he took this role makes his performance all the more impressive. But the biggest problem I had with the episode is that I didn't really get involved in the story. I didn't care much about what was going on, and it didn't move me much on an emotional level, and whenever I watch something directed by Steven Spielberg, I fully expect to have an emotional reaction to it. I mean, nobody's better at doing that sort of thing than he is. In fact, the most moving moment in the whole episode is something really simple. Barry Sullivan grieving over the death of his endangered pet goldfish. Without having to say a single word, Sullivan gives a much better performance in this one scene than he did with all of his talky dialogue in Spielberg's Night Gallery episode. But other than that, LA 2017 left me cold, although I did think Sharon Farrell was pretty hot as the secretary. The thing about LA 2017 is that it's a very cerebral episode, and Spielberg isn't a cerebral filmmaker, he's a visceral filmmaker. LA 2017 does have a lot of neat visual ideas, but as a work of futuristic science fiction, I wouldn't put it on the level of later Spielberg masterpieces like AI or Minority Report. Still, although I have some issues with LA 2017, it's certainly worth seeing at least once. This was 1971, and at the same time that Spielberg was working on LA 2017 at Universal, George Lucas was working on THX 1138 at Warner Brothers. Now, isn't that a coincidence? That year, both of them were in the beginning phases of their careers, directing their own individual works of dystopian futuristic sci-fi. Little did anyone know that by the end of the decade, both of them would change science fiction forever. Special thanks to Martin Gostanian and the Pali Center for Media for letting me view their copy of LA 2017.